Hey everybody, episode 181 of the Followtonians. Eric here in Overland Park, Kansas. Ped in Old Swan, Liverpool. It's international break just over. It's been forever since that Sunderland match. I don't know if it's European nights hangovers or what it is, but we looked really great against Lille, and we looked equally not as great against Sunderland.
We sucked, Eric. We sucked.
Well, yeah. You know what sucked worse than us? Lee Mason.
I don't ask, Eric.
Lee Mason,
Ding, 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 ding,
which
ding.
which for some reason somehow decided to make Kevin Friend look like the best referee in the world.
And that is a job and a half to do such a thing.
It is. Let's this early on the stomp on Gareth Barry. Whew, that was really just horrible.
Do you know that was a perfect case for video technology. That perfect case for it. Simple
Yeah,
facts.
yeah, because it
Something.
because it was pathetic.
It's something
Absolutely,
that
it
you
was, it was
don't.
just yeah.
But it's something you don't necessarily see first time. You need an actual play of it that could have had in the 3 or 4 minutes that Gareth Barry was writhing around in pain on the floor, and so
But it slows the game down too much, Ped.
it does, and so does ironically.
So does what now?
What now?
I didn't catch what you said. You said so does something ironically.
I said so does trying to break someone's ankle.
Yes, yeah, that does tend to have people laying on the pitch and physios coming out and um, captains of the teams screaming at each other, saying, WTF and other Roy Hodgsonisms, and it's just it's I don't even know what to say about it. It was horrible. I'm I'm really surprised that he didn't break his ankle, or at least we haven't been told that he has.
It's hard to say, Eric, isn't it? It's hard to say, but uh, it wasn't nice to watch anyway. And then you look at it 5-10 minutes later, and the referee had a chance to make amends for it by giving another legitimate yellow
Yeah,
card.
yeah. So he
And it
so he
bottled
escapes
it.
he escapes the red and is only given a yellow, and then there's like the worst dive I've ever seen, and we've seen Luis Suarez play.
It was a bad dive. I mean,
It was bad.
I've probably seen worse dives, but it was a pretty bad dive.
Okay, Jagielka looked like a Spanish bullfighter and holding a cape, and he looked like a bull, and there was no contact in it. I mean, it was like, uh, what are you doing on the floor?
This is true, Eric. This is true. I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. It was pretty poor, very very poor, and the referee first of all had his whistle in his mouth like he was contemplating giving a foul, and then he realised it wasn't a foul, so clearly it was a dive, and then the game sort of stopped, and then the referee decided to give nothing, which was very very strange considering he had an opportunity there to take a stand against the player and completely bottled it. And for the second week in a row, we've had a referee bottle a decision because he knows that what he knows is that it's going to be a red card, and giving a red card, he knows he's opening himself up to possibly,
Criticism? Yeah.
possibly criticism, possibly thinking to himself, have I got this 100% right? If I haven't, I'm going to be in all kinds of trouble, let's just say. The kind of trouble that you only get by going to see ginger-haired artists in concert.
Yeah.
And he's put himself in a position there, and as I say, for 2 weeks in a row, Mr. Friend did it last week, and Mason's done it, for this game, and they've both bottled it and both walked away from quite easy decisions on the surface, and Everton have paid the price in a way in both games.
Yeah, but that's not the only possible sending off for Sunderland in this match, because there's just okay. Let's take a moment and just give some props to Samuel Eto'o, because for some reason he decided to play for Everton, and I'm thankful every time I get to watch him wearing an Everton top, because the pass that he makes to Seamus Coleman is absolutely amazing.
It is absolutely amazing, and he'd done something similar beforehand, and it didn't quite get through. And this time it did. Coleman gets brought down, quite clearly gets brought down in the box. He is the player who done it was stopping a. It's not last man. That's not the rule. That's not the rule. The rule is stopping a goal scoring opportunity, and he was stopping a goal scoring opportunity. So
denial of a goal scoring opportunity.
There you go. So therefore, should have been sent off, and wasn't.
Because
the ref's a knob.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad we got that clear.
I don't think there's a technical.
The first decision with the Gareth Barry and then the dive, we weren't sure. Now I'm glad you cleared that up for me. I was kind of confused on the classification of where Mr. Mason stood in the
it's clearly because he's a knob. I mean, you know what? That's the technical decision on this. He's a knob.
Yes. I just looked it up in the dictionary for knob, and there is a picture of Lee Mason. Right there.
And he has the head to go with it. So I think But saying all that.
Baines with the best worst penalty I've seen him take ever.
I've seen him take
that doesn't get saved.
I've seen him take better worse penalties than that.
Better worse penalties than that? Yeah.
I've seen him take better.
But have you seen worse best penalties than that?
Maybe not from Baines.
No.
But
hey, it goes in.
And
thank goodness their keeper is 8 foot tall and cannot touch his ankles.
He can't.
And kill them all.
Always a bonus. But as I say, we shouldn't have needed any helping hands in this game. Sunderland are a poor side. I don't care what anyone says. They're a poor side.
Yes.
And we
fighting Altidores, yes.
We shouldn't let them anywhere near this game. We controlled the game for large parts, but unfortunately we slowed it down to a crawl, which allows even the poorer sides to get men behind the ball. And
well, a lot of that has to do with McGeady. I thought it's very just telling that he and Seamus Coleman have no sense of how to play together on the right. Well, and as soon as he comes off, Coleman is a new man on the pitch and instantly is dangerous, gets crosses in, gets in behind, and gets that pass from Eto'o to draw the penalty. And that's what Coleman is best at. That's what he does for us. And for some reason, he is not able to have that same joy when McGeady's in front of him.
Well, that's because McGeady's in front of him, and that's not a reflection on McGeady as a player as such.
No, it's the combination of the two.
But he basically just stops Coleman from getting forward. Now, part of me thinks that's actually a plan, but there's something not right about Coleman physically, and they are managing the situation, and almost by having McGeady in front of him, they are managing the situation that he doesn't have to attack. But as you just said, the minute McGeady goes off, Coleman starts being able to get forward, and he gets us a penalty, and that's no coincidence. Our fullbacks are what we thrive on going forward, and it was the same on the left-hand side. Baines really couldn't get forward because the person playing in front of him, which was mostly Ross Barkley, doesn't give that security because he goes in continuously, and right. I don't know why we're cutting off our legs to play this way. It almost, I've said it before, it's almost like we've got too many cooks You've got Eto in there. You've got Ross Barkley. In other games we've had Naismith in there, and it's almost like Roberto Martinez just wants to play them all, and I just think that's a little bit silly. I think you've got plenty of games. If you need to rotate them, but don't just all cram them into one team because it's not getting the best out of anyone. For me, Barkley needs to be playing in the number 10 role. When he plays in the number 10 role, that gets the best out of Lukaku. Eto and Lukaku, they're not necessarily a partnership. I think Lukaku learns a lot from him. There was a great interchange in the first half, but that doesn't happen enough. And we've seen Lukaku again have a really poor game. But Lukaku thrives on partnerships, and at the moment he just doesn't really have one in the team. But as we've seen against Villa, which was probably one of Lukaku's best games this season, him and Barkley were back together. They clicked, and we need to see more of that. So it was really disappointing game. The way we conceded was so ridiculous.
The foul by Baines was horrible. The placement of the wall was horrible. The allowing to get shoved out of the way was horrible, and it was just horrible.
It was just a very, very poor goal to concede, and not only was it a poor goal to concede, but you could see the way we were playing. It was inevitable that it was going to happen.
What percentage of Goodison Park knew that was going in?
Well, considering it wasn't at Goodison Park, but if you're just talking about in ratios here,
right?
I would say that most Evertonians would have thought this is going in because most Evertonians know how the script is written and have done for a few years. But when you dominate games like that, you've got to score goals. You've got to get in the ascendancy. And I've said it so many times this season, get in the lead early on and then start thinking about the passing ratios and all that nonsense. We don't go out there and we don't take the game to teams enough in the first.
Yeah, we don't ask the questions early.
No, we let teams settle down. We let teams get into games. We don't get control and do something with it. We've seen it in the games this season against Leicester, against Crystal Palace being the most obvious one. It's so frustrating, and if there's one thing Roberto Martinez needs to learn or to tell his players, it's get out there and get me a goal and get the lead, and then go out there and get me a second goal, because that's what we need to do. But the amount of games we just play this pass without it going anywhere, it's so frustrating. It really is. And we need to learn how to just kill teams. Because at the second half of last season, that's what we were doing. You think back to the Arsenal game, you think how quickly we came out the traps that day, and we went for the kill, and we went for the second, and we went for the third, and we just kept on going and going and going. And that's what we need to do more, and even more so with these poor sides, because if you don't kill them off, like when we played Palace, they suddenly start thinking we've got a chance here. We're still in this game, and that's exactly what happened against Palace. And that's what will happen against other teams, because as bad as teams are in the Premier League, everyone has that one player, or whatever it is.
The Larsons, absolutely.
Everyone's got one player that can do you damage in one way, whether it be from a corner, whether it be from a set piece, free kick. Everyone's got that one way. So it's about time that we just learned how to kill
teams. Off the ref, whatever.
Get 1-0 up, then get 2-0 up, and then it's so much easier if you do it that way.
It sounds good to me, Ped.
It's the future.
It is the future. 1-1 draw against Sunderland. Horrible team. Horrible result. It's got to be looked at as 2 points lost. There's no reason why they should have taken anything from this game.
None whatsoever. Very, very, very average team.
Barry's out 6 weeks.
I've no idea. I don't know.
8 years. Akone.
No idea. It hasn't been. Clarified one way or the other. So I'm not.
surprised Roy Hodgson hasn't come out and said that he is injured because he doesn't want to play for England.
That man's on serious.
Because, I mean, Roy Keane seems to think that Roberto Martinez doesn't want any of his players playing internationally.
Well, that's up to Roy and his
Did you?
attitude.
At the Ginger Convention of the Northwest.
I have no idea what you just said.
Exactly.
What did you just say?
The Ginger Convention of the Northwest.
What?
What?
What are you talking about now?
I don't know. Roy Keane.
He's not
You.
ginger.
He's ginger enough.
He's not.
He's
He's not
actually
ginger.
just gray, isn't he?
Eric, are you feeling okay?
No, I'm not.
You appear to have lost the official plot.
My face looks like a bunch of books right now.
I don't know. Eric, you've gone mental. Please strike this from the official podcast.
No.
Go on, what were you saying?
Roy
Please continue.
Keane is a numpty.
Okay, fair enough. Roy Keane, yes, made allegations that Everton didn't want their players to go on international breaks because of the Ireland players that have been going back injured, which is nonsense because, let's be honest, we've missed Coleman as much as anyone this season. McCarthy went injured, was seen by the Irish doctors, and then was sent home because he had no chance of playing in that game. Now,
Right.
if there's a chance he can play this weekend, well, then that's fine. But their doctor said he had no chance of playing at the weekend, so what more do you want?
McGeady was nowhere near the Irish squad until he came and started playing with us again.
McGeady's playing regularly. Darren Gibson got injured for a year playing for Ireland.
Yes.
What does that say? Do you know what I mean? He was playing for Ireland and he got injured and he was off for a whole year and then he come back.
I think we just call that a Kone now.
And then he played against Scotland and got injured.
Hopefully not
He
for a
hasn't
year.
been getting. He didn't
Or
get
a
injured
Kone.
playing for Everton. He got injured playing for Ireland. So Roy Keane's point is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
It's just
There you
pathetic. Really,
Oh.
really, really pointless. And you know,
worse Roy Keane
Worse
or
Roy.
Hodgson?
always Hodgson. Always Hodgson. Always
Yeah.
Hodgson.
Because
The man's a beaut. Let's be honest. He's a
so where does
He's-
that fit on the scale between knob and numpty?
a beaut is up there. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
It's a different kind. It's numpty's nothing. It's nothing that. But yeah, he's a
He's a beaut. Piece of work. He's a
yeah. He's a blade. That's another one for you. I would like you to spread these words around. The good. It's good stuff.
melt.
Yeah, he's
Could he be a
melt.
melt?
More than a melt.
He's more than a melt.
Much
Okay.
more. Yeah, Bute's more than melt, and Blade is it's
Worse than
worse than Bute. Yeah. So. Yeah, he's just I just can't bear the man. I cannot bear him. He is a dinosaur. he brings. Well, first of all, he started Downing in head of
anybody.
yeah, and Ross Barkley, which fair enough, whatever. He started him. Everton fans would be like, yeah, good. But he started him. Now, whether he thought because of injury, fine, no problem. Brings him on with 4 minutes to go. Yeah, what's the point? So, brings him with 4 minutes to go, and after about
Game you're winning.
game went 3-1,
Right.
and had been for about 15 minutes. No, sorry, for about 10 minutes, but had been winning previous before that 2-0 earlier. He brings him on, then screams at him after about a minute because when he got the ball, he didn't just hoof it up to the wing or to Rooney or whatever. And
He actually looked to make an easy pass.
well,
Do a little
who cares? Who cares what he was trying to do? He's a young,
You're up by 2.
he's a
with-
young
with
kid.
a minute to go.
Yeah, he's a young kid. He likes when he gets the ball to express himself. He is, in the last couple of years as a player, he has grown so much, because Roberto Martinez has allowed him to express himself, given that freedom, allowed him to make mistakes in public and to learn from them, which he's done. And there's no question of him when on the pitch. There's no... Roy Hodgson, to me, is like when you're 11 and you've got a junior coach or a junior teacher and they just tell you to hoof it up to the kid up front. Just hoof, hoof, hoof. That's not how footballers get better. They get better by having the ball at the feet and using it and working with it. And that's how Ross Barkley's got better, and that's Ross Barkley's game. He gets it and he moves the ball. He doesn't just hoof it, because what's the point? He's better than that. He's a talented footballer. I also didn't see Roy Hodgson shouting at anyone else. I didn't see him shouting at Raheem Sterling when he lost the ball and it led to Scotland's goal. But yet,
Right.
for some reason, he has this problem with Barkley. He was shouting at him in the summer in the World Cup. He just does it, and
That was mostly because he missed the bus to training, but
I wish it was just that. But
Oh.
the thing is, you worry that he's going to go and play for England and he's going to try and sort of fit in with it, and it's going to cost him for us because he's going to try adapting his game, and it's going to come back and hurt us when we want him to play his natural game, because that's what he's good at. He goes there and if he's getting shouted at and he's losing confidence, he's not going to be the player that we want him to be, because it's going to creep into his game. This is when Moyes had him. Moyes did the same thing to him. There's a game when he first made his debut and he came into it, and I think it was the second game against Blackburn where he gave away a penalty and he was on him straight
Right.
away, and he went missing then, and he went on loan, and when he was on loan, and the same happened at Leeds.
yeah, Warnock probably yelled at him a little bit.
Warnock probably shouted at him all the time and benched him. And first thing Martinez did is put him in the team and just said, right, gonna
You're
put
good enough,
you in
you're
there.
smart enough, and doggone it, people like you.
Exactly. Get in there and play football, and that's what you're about. And it wouldn't surprise me if, well, it shouldn't anyway. Barkley should start on Saturday anyway. He should be straight in there, and again, that's what Roberto Martinez is great at doing. But why
Yeah.
bring a kid on with 4 minutes to go and then scream at him and make an absolute show of him in front of other professional footballers?
Shambolic.
That is Sunday League coaching at its worst or its finest, and it's horrible to think that man is in charge of this national team, because
Nope,
goes-
yeah, I looked up Blurt, and there's a picture of Roy Hodgson.
there you go.
Right there.
He thinks he's won a few games, so what? He's failed in two tournaments because when it comes to the crunch, his players are not good enough. They don't at doing the things that win you tournaments, which is really, really, really good footballers. And we have this,
or even advance out of groups.
yeah, and we have this
It's kind of
tradition.
hard to do.
We have a tradition in England of what we do is we get our best talents, and we say, well, you're a good footballer, go and play on the wing, or you're a good footballer, but actually what I want you to do is run up and down for 90 minutes and exhaust yourself, or you're a good footballer, I'm not going to play you because you're lazy or you don't fit into my system. That's what happens in this country.
Or you actually try to dribble.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
You've just beat 4 men, but then give the ball away at the end of it because you have no one to pass to. That's English football for you in a nutshell. We prefer yard dogs who run round and give 110% English spirit and all that crap. Whereas what we do is we get all our best players and we just ridicule them and don't let them express themselves. And I'm afraid it looks like we've got another manager who wants to take the best player of his generation, and I don't care what anyone says. For me, Ross Barkley is the best player of his generation for the next 10 years. You let Ross Barkley play, you leave him with a manager like Roberto Martinez, and that kid will become the best in this country without a doubt, without a problem. You leave him with someone like Rui Hodgson, and he'll just become another player that could have and should have made it to the very top.
Yeah. And yeah, kind of like Jack Rodwell was supposed to be really great whenever he was with us, and injuries and just doesn't turn into anything, and comes into the Sunderland match and tying it all back together. But anyways,
Talking about another player.
Barkley. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to move on to Lukaku, who played in a friendly on, I think it was last Thursday.
On some day, yeah.
No, he played last Thursday or Wednesday in a friendly. Came off the bench and scored for Belgium, but then against Wales was on the bench again, which he's been pretty much since the World Cup. Origi's pretty much took his place up front, and then didn't get off the bench. And even though Wales got a really good draw against Belgium, he didn't get off the bench for Belgium.
Yep.
Origi started the game. I think Benteke came on as well.
Good for him.
But they didn't give.
They wouldn't let Lukaku play any reindeer games.
They didn't give Lukaku a game, which really, really I find strange. But
hey, at least he didn't get injured.
But yeah, but I understand all that. But that's not the point, is it? The point is he's.
For Roy Keane, it is.
What's going on? Why is he? Why, we've seen recently he hasn't been great for us in certain games, been in games, out games. But what's happening? What's happened to him that he's, now he can't even get off the bench for his country, whereas he started the World Cup as their number one striker, and now he's a player who's only been back a few weeks, who hasn't even scored in the Premier League, is getting on the pitch before him. I don't understand that.
Maybe Wilmots is a blurt.
Well, that's here. Neither here or there, is it? Let's be honest. I mean, he obviously sees something or doesn't see something in him for him not to play, and I don't. Why is that? Is it confidence levels? Is it Lukaku just isn't moving forward as a footballer? I mean, I just don't know, and it's a little bit worrying because you just think, well. Yeah, he hasn't been brilliant for us so far this season. He scored a few goals, but he hasn't been brilliant. He goes away with international level, and you just think, yeah, this could be the little pep up that he needs, and yet he doesn't even get off the bench in the qualifier, and that's worrying us. I mean, the only thing you hope is that he'll come back and he'll be firing and he'll be ready to go, and that's the positive way to look at it, I suppose. But yeah, that just worried me a little bit, seeing that and seeing the fact that he never got off the bench. That just just a little bit worrying.
Yeah, I mean, even for Bosnia, Besic doesn't get full 90. He only plays a half.
Well, I think that was more tactical, wasn't it? Because they were 2-0 down half time, and he generally plays holding midfield for them. So. Sure. I think they took him off because they probably thought, well, we need some attackers on the pitch. God forbid he picked up an injury, but I think that would seem to be the case anyway. Because as we'll discuss in the West Ham preview, we are struggling a little bit defensively and midfield.
Yeah, because in training for England. Baines picks up a hamstring injury and no clear definition as far as the extent of it. Possibly could be okay. Possibly, who knows? Maybe talk of Hibbert platooning at left back just makes me want to barf.
Let me just say one more thing about Lukaku. It's one of the subs that got brought on for Origi, Mertens, he went off injured, and then he still wasn't brought on, and Janusaj was brought on instead. What, Janusaj?
Right.
So
Jazz hands.
Janusaj.
Jazz hands.
Janusaj. He hasn't done anything.
Gesundheit.
He hasn't done anything all season. There you go.
Yeah.
Move on.
All right. Are we done with internationals?
Yeah.
Tim Howard's still on break. He's not playing for the U.S., so he didn't go over to the horrible drubbing in Ireland.
Yeah, let's not talk about Ireland beating America hilariously.
Yeah, let's not. Because did any of our players get into that match? The two that are healthy? Coleman or
I think
McGeady?
McGeady might have played a little bit in that game.
At the end, yeah. None of them started, though. But
oh, well, let's move on.
Stephen Naismith for Scotland. Yeah.
Played in both games, yeah.
No injuries. Didn't get injured.
No.
So that's good. Even though he, I was hoping he would have taken out a couple of people. But
let's move on.
All right. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Fandango.
That's the taste of Bavaria. 0.0% alcohol.
You're getting you're in training for next week.
Yeah. Except that might have a little few more bits of alcohol in it.
All right.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Tim Howard.
What's up?
Stuff.
Ready, set. All right, we're back on Polytonians, brought to you by Abscess Services, and also a big shout out to De Coubertin Books, James Corbett, big time friend of the show. Absolutely love everything that he puts out there for us to read, and it's really quite amazing. So, big thanks to him. So, West Ham, the Fighting Brands, the magnificent Big Sam's army rolling into Goodison Park.
That's such an American intro, that.
Yeah.
That was such an American intro. You were like
Does Katy Perry still like West Ham?
No.
Probably not.
I hope not, anyway.
I don't know either.
I hate West Ham. I don't like that they're having a good season. I don't think it's a romantic notion that they're having a good season. I don't like it.
Bubbles.
I don't like bubbles. Not bubbles at all. All there is men from the East End that want to pummel your face.
Blowing bubbles.
No, I don't like it. It's nonsense. They're owned by crooks. They're owned by a man who got rich selling things. If you don't know what those things are, go and do some research on the internet. They're moving into a new stadium that they're paying buttons for. Basically, I paid for their new ground. Me and the other taxpayers in this country.
Way to go, Ped. Now they're going to have more bubbles.
My fault. It's all my fault. And they're going to get this big ground that they don't deserve, and it's costing them hardly anything. And I don't like it. I do not like this club because of the things they are getting that we are not getting. It's not fair.
I feel bad for Leyton Orient.
So do I. I'm going to take my pitchfork and go do something with it. And my my Guy Fawkes mask.
Okay. Do you really want to tell us how you feel about West Ham?
I don't like them.
Not one bit. Where do they go on to the Blurt, Numpty, Knob? What was the
They've
other
never been
one?
on the scale because they're very non-threatening. They've always been non-threatening. But now I feel, and I didn't like the decision that they're moving into the new stadium, but they were non-threatening, and now they're slightly threatening, and I don't like it because they're slightly threatening. And if they're slightly threatening, and they're getting a new ground for basically nothing, then it makes it even worse. And I just
West
hate
Ham-
the people who own them. They're so horrible. Ugh,
Okay.
I hate them.
West
Tom
Ham
Brady. Ugh.
or Newcastle or Stoke City? Who's worse?
Well, that's a very, very... Stoke actually don't really come into the equation anymore because they're just sort of... they've become a team.
.com. Yeah.
Whatever, yeah. Whatever.
Newcastle. Now that they've won 4 in a row.
Newcastle will always just be the biggest clowns in the class, won't they? They're just... Something will come along and burst their bubble soon because that's the way they're programmed. The chairman, or the owner, sorry, is making moves to take over Rangers. And that's quite obvious. So whatever. I don't like the people who run West Ham for a start. They're just
bad people.
Karen
They're
Brady.
the bad man.
Ugh. I won't even talk politics, but she's vile.
They're a bad man. They're a bad
Yeah,
man.
and this ground thing. So, well, they're doing okay this season.
They
season,
are,
they-
and unfortunately for everybody.
Last season they were actually an okay team. They were actually quite good defensively. They had a lot of clean sheets. But they just used to get beaten a lot, and that's sort of what their downfall was.
Mm-hmm.
But this season, what they've done is they've bought goals. They went out there, they bought goals, and they bought players that you wouldn't necessarily think you would go and buy them and think would do a job, which has been a big bonus for them. I mean, that they've gone out there and done the cardinal sin. Basically, they went out there and bought a forward that in the World Cup was really good, and they bought him. And you never do that. You're not supposed to do that. And he's been fantastic for them in Valencia. And they went out and bought Sakho, who I believe was playing for a second division team in France. So, and hadn't really, and he's been really good as well, like really, really good. Scored in what was it? 7 games in a row he scored in the Premier League?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So they've done on that front. They've done really, really well. 6 games in a row, sorry. So and then as I say,
and then they've got Andy Carroll too. I mean,
well, he's coming back, so that's a bit of a worry.
That's what I'm saying.
And because they've got 2 forwards that are scoring goals, you can manage him now. You don't need to just throw him in and risk him. They've got Downing playing well, who's rubbish, but he's playing well, which is worrying. They've got Song, who they've got on loan from Barcelona. He's playing well. They brought Creswell in from, I think it was Ipswich, who's a Scouser, who used to play for Tranmere. I think he was on Liverpool's books when he was younger. Went to Tranmere and then worked his way back up, and now is playing really well. At left back, Collins and Reed look good. Jenkinson they've brought in from Arsenal looks okay. So they've got a decent side. Noble's always been a decent centre midfielder. So they've got a decent side. I mean, you scratch past the surface, there's not much there, but that happens a lot in the Premier League. So they've become a decent side, and they are up to they're up to 5th in the Premier League. I think is it so or 4th even. Sorry, so they're up to 4th. They're doing really well. They've beaten the likes of Man City. They've beaten Liverpool.
Who hasn't?
I suppose. But I suppose I suppose the way you look at it is they've had a lot of they've beat Palace, they've beaten
Well, teams
West,
that
beaten
on our
QPR,
schedule we
beaten
drew.
Burnley. So I suppose they've had a couple of good wins and that's boosted the confidence against teams they should.
And we've had a couple of bad draws.
Yeah.
And that's what's separating us and them right now.
But they look a decent team, a decent Premier League outfit. It'll be a tough game. It was a tough game last season.
So hopefully they come out and go after it, and we can give them a good game. And
it'll be a tough game, as I say. But what will make it really tough is
they're flying. Lots of confidence, yeah.
Well, they've drawn the last two, and they drew 0-0 the last game with Villa, and they might have a couple of injuries. But you're talking about injuries. At the moment, the Everton's team is just absolutely littered with them, and and players that might come back from fitness mightn't be 100%, and that's the worry with tough games coming up now.
Yeah, I mean we could rattle down the list of all of our first teamers that are out. I mean between Stones and Alcaraz and Baines possibly out, and it just keeps going and going. Gibson's out now, and Barry's out, and
I don't know who's out and who. But what I do know is that
everybody is injured.
Baines is injured. McCarthy's injured. You've got Barry injured. These injuries are in key areas of the park. I mean, you've got Baines injured, then do you bring Garbett in? Oviedo's not ready yet. He's not fit either. So does Garbett come in? I mean, there's talk of Hibbert going to left back, which for me would be a major step backwards for Everton if he was to play on Saturday at left back. I'm sorry, it would be it's. To see him playing right back is one thing, but to see him playing left back now would just be, for me, a really big backward step. You've got McCarthy, who's obviously got injured in the last game, missed the Ireland game, so is he going to be available? And then you've got Barry, who possibly could be out as well, so you're breaking up that partnership. Besic can come in, yes, but then Gibson's picked up a knock. So you're looking at it and you're thinking, okay, players could play, but then there is no cover for them, as you just said. There's no cover for them. And with Wolfsburg next week, and with obviously Spurs on the Sunday, there's a lot of big games coming up, So you're looking at it and thinking, this is
the boost of Morales back at full training.
Well, yeah, and hopefully he'll be in the side, or he'll certainly be on the bench, because he is a kind of player we need back in the team. We really do. We need that injection of pace. And directness, and just give us something completely different, which I think would have won us a lot of the games we've drawn recently. Like Swansea against, like Sunderland. They're the games that I think we would have picked up maximum points from if we'd had Morales in the team.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a really, really busy time, as I say. Wolfsburg, Tottenham, and then we've got a midweek game against Hull. We know this is the busy period now, and
and then City, and then Hull again. Something like that.
Hull, City, Krasnodar, QPR. It doesn't stop, and what you need is you need a fully fit squad to get you through this period. You really, really do, because if you go into this period and you're struggling with injuries, it really can get on top of you. So that's why maybe. If there are doubts this weekend, that he might say, well, no, I'm not going to risk, certain players. I'm going to, he might let players settle, not take any chances, especially if he does have one or two to cover them. But it's going to be interesting. And I say there are literally no easy games anymore. There really aren't.
Yeah, well, Burnley was pretty easy, but or should have been easy. But on a not as doomsday note about the injuries is we're not the only team with them. A lot of the other squads in the table near and around us and pushing for the same same finishing places, quite possibly could be worse off than we are, if that's possible. So yeah, we've got a lot of injuries, and 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 things are not exactly, first choice easy pickings for the manager every week. We know who the 11 are. Go out there and do your job. So we're gonna learn probably here pretty soon quite a few new names and faces, because there's gonna have to be some sort of youth brought into this side.
We'll just have to wait and see. As I say, I mean, who knows, because we don't know what the injuries are. But what Roberto Martinez did say last week in the Q&A he did, I think it was the one that was on that was on it was on Everton TV or YouTube, and he basically said there are 3 under-21s players that he expects to break into the first team squad this season. So that'll be interesting to see who those 3 players are. Whether we've already seen maybe one in Titus Brown and
Ledson?
Sure. Ledson possibly.
55-yard master oops.
Seen him score that brilliant free kick for the England.
Hennon?
Whatever it was. Hennon, yeah, could be.
Seems to be doing pretty well for the 21s.
Scored again this weekend. The senior
for
cup.
The 18s, yeah.
Yeah, senior. Well, yeah, it's like a mixture. It's so yeah, he seems to be doing okay.
In a horrific loss, and they went down to 9 men, and up 3-1 and lose 4-3, and
yeah. But we'll wait and see. I mean, it'll be interesting. You just hope that there aren't too many injuries, and listen, wins do a lot. Do you know what I mean? If Everton get a win,
Newcastle, yeah.
If Everton get a win on Saturday, just a win. Just you don't have to play well or play amazingly brilliant football. Just gotta get a win. Get a goal early doors and make it difficult for West Ham, and I'm confident we'll win the game. But unfortunately, too much lately, we've allowed teams to settle against us. Whether we are dominating possession or not, teams have settled, and we haven't hurt them, and it's come back to hurt us in so many games. So you need to get out there and hurt them, and you can, if you win games early on, it makes it a lot easier, and then you can look at taking players off, subbing players, whatever you need to do. It makes it so much easier. But if you're playing every game to the 90th minute, it makes it so much more difficult. Really, really does. So, let's just get back to winning ways. Let's get back to the wins, the kind of wins that we want to see, where we just go out there, beat a team comfortably, and take the points. And you start getting 1 or 2 of them, and they soon start racking up, which we've seen, late last season. They do start adding up quite quickly, and that can make a massive difference, because we're only 4 points off 4th.
Still.
We'll only be a point behind them wherever they are. So
we had beaten Sunderland.
If we're in touching distance of that top 4.
Yeah.
Around Christmas, New Year time, then anything's still possible. Anything apart from winning the league, obviously, but anything's still possible. So that's where we've got to keep ourselves. No, nobody. That's where we've got to keep ourselves now. Just around that top 4, and that's when the league will start sorting itself out, and then hopefully we'll be in a better position. But what we don't want to do, and we've mentioned this so many times, is fall into that little bit of a mid-table slump, because once you get into that, it's very hard to get out of it. But at the moment, the entire league looks like a mid-table. From basically
from
second downwards, basically.
Yeah.
Everyone from Chelsea to basically Crystal Palace looks like they're all in mid-table at the moment. So let's just go and get a win.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yep, 3 points. Team news. We've kind of put a bunch out there. There was a meeting with Roberto. The Northwest Football Awards and Everton and the community did really great in those, winning top honors for their work.
Tremendous stuff, as always.
Yeah,
That's a few years. I think they've won about 2 or 3
yeah,
things this week. So well done to Everton community. Always the best out there. Always doing really well.
yep. That whole staff
fantastic.
just does a great job of getting Everton involved. Saw stories about Stones helping out and getting involved in the community and doing some really great things. Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
We want to see. We want to see.
Another award picked up by Everton player Tim Howard was awarded the U.S. Men's Soccer Player of the Year.
Ooh.
Probably just because of the Belgium match.
Probably so, but I suppose he had a really, really good World Cup. I don't think anyone can deny that.
Absolutely.
So fair play to Tim and congratulations, and hopefully he can take that form or pick that form up again and take it on to the rest of the season. I know there's plenty of people out there who think he's having a good season. So fair play to them.
Neville Southall's one of those.
He is, but I think he was talking nonsense. Well, that's just my opinion, and that was his opinion, and that's fair enough.
Yeah. There you go.
He's one of the most consistent goalkeepers in the Premier League. I probably actually agree with him on that. But when he said,
not in a good way.
No, I probably would agree with him on that to a point. But when he said he wouldn't swap him for anyone else, I think I have to take issue with him on that.
I think Courtois might be one that I would
swap him for Courtois. I'd swap him for De Gea.
Well, not now because De Gea is injured, but
still swap him.
Everybody's injured. It's so weird this year. Everybody is injured.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd swap him for quite a few people, but whatever.
Yeah. Robert Green?
No, I'm swapping for him.
No. Okay. Just checking. I still think he's trying to figure out how Dempsey's shot went through his legs, but that was like 4.5 years ago.
I was going to say it was 4 years ago.
No, I still think he's trying to figure out
Move
how
on.
that went. No, never. USA. Anything else? Go buy a book for Christmas. It's good stuff.
Yeah, go and do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, Eric. Is there anything else?
There is nothing else. Say goodbye, Ped.
Goodbye, Ped.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Happy holidays to all the Americans out there that are going to be celebrating Thanksgiving coming up. Safe travels to you, Ped, and all the other Blues out there who will be going over to Germany. We might do a show between now and then. We'll see. We'll try and get one in. We'll talk to you later. Come on, you Blues. Let's go.